All right, so first just introduce yourself. Who are you? What is your relation to Adams Morgan? What are you up to?
Yeah, my name is Matt Swamp Guinea, Washingtonian, born and raised here. Um, I lived in Adams Morgan. I got my first apartment. I lived in the Adams Morgan area. I got my first apartment at on 16th and Lamont. But prior to that, I had friends that lived right over here on Columbia Road, and this was our hanging ground. So all throughout the 90s, starting in the early 90s, this was a place that at that stage in my life, I started to, put more time into that area just because of my growing love for the world and cultures and cultural arts. This was the place that had all levels and all layers of arts all across the globe. So this was a place where you just came and you got a sense of cultural vibrancy here. I remember on the Safeway side of Columbia Road, I was just telling my daughter this, that whole strip was all vendors, Rastas, West African brothers and sisters from Ghana, Mali, Senegal, and everybody had vending stands and they sold their wares, whether it was books, cassette tapes, CDs, incense, oils, masks, different artifacts. And so, yeah, they did that for many years, and that was a place where everybody just came and there was a lot of reasoning going on, a lot of conversation. It was vibrant. And then across the street, you had our Hispanic Latin American brothers and sisters on the other side of Columbia Road. Same setup, same exact thing, same energy, same vibe, and everybody coexisted, just very, very well together. It was beautiful. So this was the place that you definitely wanted to be in this area, absorbing as much of that energy as possible, and I owe a great deal of gratitude to it because as an artist, I was, later in life blessed to be able to, travel different parts of the world playing music. And, just having that cultural exposure right here at home is what I think is one of the things that just kind of prepared me for that. So here we are today, still doing it, still playing music, I'm doing some physical training, and just loving life, loving my city, things in spite of all of the the challenges that we have here in this city. I still love, this is my home and I love it, and I'm going to continue to project as much good energy here as possible. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what kind of, you mentioned a few of them, but were there any other kind of community or communal spaces that you would go to a lot, or mean a lot to you, meant a lot to you?
Oh, but of course. You want to go down the list, huh? The Kilimanjaro right down the street, right across from the Marie Reed baseball field. The Kilimanjaro was that venue. I'm not sure if the Kilimanjaro was owned by a family from the Caribbean or from the continent, continent meaning Africa, but the continent. But the Kilimanjaro was a place, it was a venue, a music venue, restaurant, bar, and they would have some big acts to come. Fela Anikulapo Kuti, when he came here last, he performed at the Kilimanjaro. I saw Pepe Kale at the Kilimanjaro, the Mighty Diamonds at the Kilimanjaro. Rest in peace, Tabby Diamonds. And I saw the great Lucky Dube at the Kilimanjaro, Light and Evolution of Lucky Dube as well. So the Kilimanjaro, they just housed that. It was just the best. I had friends that lived all along 18th Street, Belmont, Calorama, those streets. I had friends that lived on those streets, and so we would just have open jam sessions. Hey, come over, we jamming over at so-and-so's house. and we go over there and just jam, you know. It was that type of thing. There was a club right over.
And so did dance in America.
I think the club was here. I think this used to be a bank, if I'm not mistaken. But there was at some point they had opened it up to a club. I think it was called Exodus, and it was like a lot of like in the '90s, like house music, dance hall, reggae, rare groove stuff. You know, City Bikes, the Ben and Jerry's used to be over there. You know what I'm saying?
There was a period there where
Up Against the Wall, you know. I mean, they just had so many really cool stores here. You know, the African Room around the corner on Mount Pleasant. That was another nice place. The African Room is now called Hades. But it used to be the African Room, and that's where I met Kwame Ture, aka Stokely Carmichael, right there at the African Room. Yeah. So, and of course, Adams Morgan Day every year, where you would have big acts to perform like Mojanaya, Englishman. I mean, the list goes on and on. It was a vibrant place. On 18th Street for food, you can go anywhere to eat. You had 2 Caribbean restaurants. On one side, it was Fish Wings and Tings, and on the other side, it was Fish Wings and Tings and God, something. I think something kitchen, but like pick and choose where you wanted to get your good foods, Indian restaurants. I mean, we have all of the best restaurants right here in this neighborhood, you know, like for wherever you want to get on the plane and go to, it's right here, you know. So, and then that's always been here when I was living around here, yeah.
The late 50s and the 60s, you mentioned that like a lot of it kind of influenced your art. You grew up here and did perform music and have performed music and still do. So how has like being in Adams Morgan, how did that impact like your growth in your art?
Again, as an artist, I consider myself to be a cultural artist, and you know, I play percussion, I play drums, but there's a whole purpose behind it. And what it connects to, you know, and I just love all of the different styles of music of the diaspora, you know, and so I'm gonna play it all, you know. All of these things inspired me. I grew up in DC playing DC go-go music, and then just expanded into other genres and just really opened up musically. So Adams Morgan was the foundation for a lot of, not just myself, but there's a lot of top-notch DC artists that they can probably tell you the same thing. You know, HR and the Bad Brains used to reason up and down here. And this was the cultural hub. This is where you came. This is where your center was. And you just came here and you just got that recharge because it was so culturally vibrant. And so you wanted to like absorb as much of that as possible so that can reflect not only into your everyday living, but every parts of your work, your music, your household, your job, whatever. You know, so that's how it impacted me. You know, yeah, it's just an incredible place to be. You know. Yeah.
And then I guess since you first got here, what kind of changes have you seen, or what has kind of stayed the same about Adams?
Well, of course, all of the vendors got, you know, they got pushed out because a lot of the vendors, some did, some didn't have their licenses. You had to be licensed, and you know, but these people, this was how they lived. This was how they ate, you know, and the vending licenses, they were pretty expensive. I'm pretty sure they still are. There may be a whole tax thing behind that as well, but it's a costly thing that you have to get. So a lot of the vendors, they were just out here selling their wares without the licenses. And so what I started seeing was, you know, law enforcement would come and they would enforce that, or, you know, or harass. And so over time, you saw fewer and fewer and fewer vendors, and I think that was the case on both sides of Columbia Road. So that's changed. You don't see that anymore. Of course, there are new buildings here, higher buildings. You don't really, there's pockets here, right? So I don't come around here as much as I used to. But Bukum Cafe, which is like, it's been there since forever. Ghanaian restaurant, live reggae, they're still here. Madam's Organ, still here. Bossa's been here for a while. I just played at Bossa a couple of weeks ago. Bossa's still here. So Adams Morgan was that place also where you could go for live music anywhere. Like, there was so many different venues over its courses of time that would house live music. Not so much today anymore, but a lot more, in the past. So a lot of venues have changed. Kilimanjaro is no longer there, so things shift. That's what change is, right? So City Bikes is still here. Yeah. So I'm really in love with a lot of the old structures. When you talk about the aesthetic of this community and the aesthetic, how things may have gone from banks to whatever, but the aesthetic is still intact, the structure is still intact. I like that. Yeah, I like that. So that's still here. So yeah.
Dance is the new form.
And are there any is there anything you hope to see change or stay the same about Adams Morgan as a community moving forward? Like, what changes do you maybe want to see things stay in?
I will say first, and I will say this. So I play basketball every Sunday right here at Walter Pierce. Just right behind us. I've been playing basketball. I didn't even mention that, but that's a whole big part of my life. So I've been playing basketball in Adams Morgan for over 25 years. Still to this day, I play here. A lot of the friends that I've met have come through the basketball community. We played at Marie Reed. We call it Calorama over here on Columbia in Calorama. And then Walter Pierce right here. So yeah, and so I played with these guys. We've been playing together for over 20 years. And so
I loved it because it played great music.
And many of our guys are dog owners. They have pets and everything. Across the street from Walter Pierce, where we play, is a soccer field. So the children go over and they play soccer. They have leagues and stuff like that. There's a sign on the entrance that says no dogs allowed on the field. And you still see people with their dog. And there's a dog park like 20 feet away. There's a dog park 20 feet away. And so people will just take their dogs in the park and, So I'm not a dog owner. For me, it's even hard to see what side to be on with that because, shit, I break laws and rules too sometimes, But there's kids that play soccer on the field, and so some of the guys will kindly say, hey, excuse me, there's no dogs allowed on the field, and we're just letting you know because we don't, just to try to avoid, law enforcement coming over here pressing you out about that. So, just kind of like that. And so we've seen people just totally disregard that and keep their dogs they just stay regardless. And so I was like, wow, talk about equity, because if that was me, in some other neighborhood, I would it'd probably be a different outcome. And these are real things that are happening today that you don't really think about it until you're right there confronted with it. And then you have to think about things like that, because that's still where this country is, you know. And so when you talk about, and I'm not comparing old school versus new school, I'm just comparing when I lived around here in the 90s, and that it was like so much unity with everybody. I mean, you know, and I just remember even during the height of DC being the murder capital of the world, during those years, this was an area where you can come here and you could feel like welcome, you can feel safe. And I'm not saying that crimes didn't happen here, they did, but at least how you felt when you entered in this space, you know, it was like that. And so fast forward today where so many clubs have opened up, so many more clubs have opened up in Adams Morgan on 18th Street. And so now it's a different variety now. There are additions to all of that. And so I'm seeing, you know, there's a lot of just like drunken fights in the streets. Pre-COVID, of course. I haven't been here after that, but I would see a lot of stuff that when I was living around here in the 90s, that there was none of that. It's zero. You never saw that. So it's shifted a lot in that way, and you know, I just remember it being that it just felt like a place of love, you know, and so we still had the rats. The rats hasn't changed, you know. The Adams Morgan rats are like they reign supreme, you know, but. I've worked at the DC Arts, the DC Art Center, this theater right here. I've worked in there, did a couple of productions there in the 90s, yep. So yeah, I really, really, really cut my teeth here in Adams Morgan as a developing artist and as a person, you know, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add about yourself or Adams Morgan that you want to just make sure to shout out before we finish?
Definitely shout out Eddie's Hair Creations. It's a barbershop right there at it's Florida Avenue, and it might be Chapin. It's that street right behind Kilimanjaro. No, yeah, Eddie's Hair Creations. It's the barbershop right there. It's a barbershop right there. Right. And then directly across from it, and Marie Reed, Kilimanjaro, and then across the street from there, it's the barbershop. That's right. Eddie's Hair. Okay. Shout out Eddie's Hair Creation. Eddie's Hair Creation. Shout out Eddie's Hair Creations. Ghanaian-owned barbershop. I got these bracelets from there. They bring back jewelry from Ghana and they sell it. Yeah. And I've been getting my hair cut when I had hair. I used to get my hair cut at Eddie's. You know, Eddie's used to be here at the top on 18th and Columbia. Then he got the space down there, and he's been down there ever since for over 20 years. So, yeah, shout out to Eddie's Hair Creations. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Hoops Sagrado. So Hoops Sagrado is a nonprofit basketball foundation. They started right here in Adams Morgan, led by Brian Weaver and Mindy Moretti. If I say your last name wrong, Mindy, I'm sorry. Mindy Moretti. So they started this nonprofit organization where they take kids from DC, you know, that are developing in basketball. We're talking teen kids up to like high school and beyond. Every summer, they do a 1-month residency in Guatemala, in a area called Shia. So the youth go over there and they get to stay with host families in Shia. It's like that cultural exchange that they have, and these are kids from DC. So Hoop Sagrado started right here in Adams Morgan, and those are some of the guys that I still play with to this day. So definitely shout out to Hoop Sagrado, because this was their first summer going back to Guatemala since the pandemic. Yeah, so they're able to give these youth experiences that, you know, experiences that they may or may not see at any other time, but this is a good start for them. And so they go to Guatemala and They just learn and they get to be stars for once in their lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine growing up a black kid and being slapped on the wrist all your life, and then you go to another country and everybody's like almost revering you. Like, that's a unique experience. So giving them that experience as well, it's very empowering, you know. So shout out to Hoop Sagrado. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.